Hello guys and welcome back to a brand new video on my channel. In today's video we are going to be discussing Barcelona's shambles of a season. I wanted to title it that way. I'm going to be analysing this really from the start of the season till the end of it. The Champions League is still to play, but hey, I thought let's go over this one. I didn't just want to not make a video about it because I think it's a really interesting topic to look at where really the design for failure started with this season, and well, this is going to be a really interesting video and let's get into it. And before we go any further guys, a theme of this video is really going to be leading all the way back to the board, and that's basically because they're the ones at the heart of this failure. They are the ones that need to be looked at and surely have to go. So let's go right back to the beginning then. Heading into the 2019-20 season, we decided to keep Ernesto Valverde as our coach, and for me, you know, I think that was a really controversial decision. They had their chance to get rid of him after the Liverpool game. You know what, fair enough for keeping him all the way to the final of the Copa del Rey and the Valencia game, but surely then, Valverde had to leave. Some decision had to be made. You know, I thought we did a pretty good job at steadying a Barca ship. We've kind of seen the way it's gone without him there, and I think give him credit for that, but surely, after those 2 seasons in charge, after the collapses in the Champions League, you know, the Copa del Rey disappointment, you would think Valverde had to go. But no, they kept him, and that really was Bartomeu's doing. He was always his biggest fan, and even now he goes back on it and claims that, you know what, it was a good decision to get rid of Valverde mid-season, is what Bartomeu says, despite the fact that he decided to keep him all the way till then, despite having a wonderful opportunity to start fresh at the beginning of this season. So, okay, we've kept Valverde then. We're going to be going into the season with Ernesto Valverde as our coach, but then what happens? You need to plan the squad. And it's just in general, guys, the way Barcelona are on the transfer market, the way they squad plan, for me, is terrible. It really is. The board, whoever's in charge of it, mainly Abidal and Palanas, those are the two really who look at players to bring in, look at managers to bring in, etc. They're part of the recruitment team. They're terrible at it. They clearly don't understand what's needed and just basically what positions need filling out and what sort of criteria is needed for those each positions. And last summer, guys, was absolutely horrific. Like a lot of them have been under this board and its leadership. There were just dodgy dealings in there, like the Citizen and Neto swap deal. You look at the complete obsession over Antoine Griezmann, which, again, they made into an absolute mess. And the signing of Griezmann, for me, something that has to be talked about, really. It's just probably their worst mistake transfer-wise in the market and before the season started. You know, a great player, someone who I really admire. I think he's a great player to have in your team. You know, he's got a proven track record of being a top footballer, but what were they actually thinking with Griezmann? What were they actually thinking? That's what we need to ask for, because they got completely obsessed. And we see it almost every single window with Neymar, with Lautaro Martinez now. Whether it's the right decision or not, they get completely obsessed with one player and then honestly make the wrong decisions in order to go and sign them. And for Griezmann personally, you know, he didn't sign in 2018 when he had a great chance. And honestly, from then onwards, it should have just been that's that, you know. Fine, you've stayed, that's fine, but we're not going to go back in for him again. But no, they insisted, they kept going, and basically I just feel that they actually have no understanding of what the team needs. They just saw the name Griezmann, they thought, we want to bring him to Barcelona, he's a good rival of Atletico. They didn't actually think, where's he going to play? What's his role going to be? Is he going to fit in with the team? How much money is this going to cost? Could we spend the money better elsewhere? Is his signing going to affect the signings of the rest of the team? None of those things passed through their mind, because for a year and a half straight or so, they were just thinking, Griezmann, we want to bring Griezmann to the club, nothing else matters. You cannot plan a club like that. You cannot plan a season like that with the obsession around a certain player. And you know what? They went, the next year, they spent all of that entire budget on one big player, and it was actually a player who didn't have a role in the team. And it is shown, guys. It has shown. You've seen it all season. Griezmann's had little sparks here and there because he's still the great player, but he's not in the correct position, he's not in the correct squad, and it just doesn't work. But we survived, we did, you know. The squad planning probably wasn't even the whole worst part of this season. There's plenty more to discuss in this shambles of a season, but we planned badly, we really did, but we kept going. We were on the season now, we forget about the window, we've got who we've got, we've signed who we've signed, we've sold who we've sold. Let's continue. We've got some Barca B players coming through. Carlos Perez did really well. You know, you look at Ansu Fati, what a revelation he's been. Even Ricky Puig has been brilliant this season. So those are the positives. And the squad was at least nicely packed out. You know, Valverde, he stayed. Whether that was the right decision or not, we don't really know. I don't think it was. We weren't playing great football. It was quite tedious and boring a lot of the games, as you'd expect in the third year after a crumbling end to the second season. But we were top of the league, we were top of a really challenging Champions League group, and you know what? We weren't doing that well. It wasn't, look, we're in a pristine condition here. We won't. we weren't in a pristine condition. I didn't, well, really like the way the club was going, but at least Valverde had again steadied the sinking ship that this Barca board caused. And then it came January, and January was really the month that I wanted to make this video on, because I just think that this is where the board completely toppled the season on its head. And look, like I said, this was a stable team. We weren't at our best, we were quite old, we should have had a new coach probably, we should have maybe even had much better signings, much better planning, but we were fine. Bartomeu, Abidal, and then Co, or whoever else was on the board, then decided to step in and ruin this season, guys. They absolutely wreaked havoc in a really important month. Because after a promising performance on the 9th of January 2020, it was then that Bartomeu and the rest of the board decided to sack Ernesto Valverde. Of all times, you know, what weird and absurd timing, honestly. What were they actually thinking? What an odd and chaotic thing to do. Not only that, guys, that was a really promising performance, and I think some of the players came out after that game and said, we thought we made a step forward today. It looked a lot more like a Barcelona team against tough opposition. We really played them off the park. There were some controversial VAR decisions against us. You know, we conceded 2 silly late goals from slacky to really poor defending, but you know, that wasn't a one-off moment. That wasn't the team like collapse really. It was just an odd moment in Saudi Arabia where we just let that game slip. But I thought we played really well, and I think the players agreed, but then they decided, about 4 days later, to get rid of Valverde, and I think everyone just thought, what weird timings those are, and essentially, guys, the coach was gone. We got rid of him now, and I think that really upset the team. It broke the rhythm of the season, it broke a lot of things down, and of course then, once you sack the manager, you need a new coach. So, of course, they hadn't planned for a new coach. They hadn't even thought, who are we going to bring in? They just got rid of Valverde. It's honestly clownery from the board, it really is, and you must think I'm talking rubbish here, but this is what actually happened. They just sacked him and then thought, oh, we need a manager now, don't we? You absolute clowns, of course you need a manager. And this was ridiculous. They hadn't planned for it. So, Abidal, Planes, like we said, the recruitment team, what they decided to do is start travelling, ringing everyone. They travelled all the way to Qatar, claiming they were investigating how Dembele's recovery process was going. They ended up offering a contract to Xavi Hernandez. He then said, yep, they offered me a contract, but I didn't want to leave. They then denied that they did that. I mean, what? And then they came back and they called Ronald Koeman, who said, I want to stay till Euro 2020 with Netherlands, which of course now is pushed back to 2021. They called Pochettino, and I'm sure they called plenty more. All of them said, no, we don't want to come now, we don't like the project, we don't like this, we don't like that, certain conditions aren't correct. So you know what they did? They found a willing appointment. They found Quique Setien, and why wouldn't he say yes? You know, this is a dream job, guys. And I'll be honest, guys, I don't just want to rip into the board completely. I want to be completely fair and honest in my assessment. I thought Setien was a good appointment. I really did. I thought the team wasn't playing well. At least with Setien, he has a clear vision to how he wants to play. Of course, we haven't seen that. Looking back on hindsight, it's easy to say, oh, why would you get Setien? I mean, the truth is they went through about 4 or 5 options before ringing the man from, you know, the former Betis man, but at the end of the day, they got Setien, former Betis coach, and well, I thought it was a good decision. I really did, but I just think the whole sheer chaos of the event was terrible. You know, the decision to sack Valverde in the middle of the season after a good performance, then not knowing which coach to go for, and then once you get the coach, you know, it clearly wasn't the right decision. So like I say, despite, you know, not the best terms at the start of this video, we were surviving, we had cut the manager, and we then decided to cut the team. So I just spoke about the way we got rid of Valverde. Well, then you know what we decided to do? Is as soon as Setien came in, we decided to get rid of any other backup that you had in the squad. And this, I think, is another really interesting part of Barcelona's season, because like I say, we were doing okay, we then cut the manager, and then we go ahead and cut the squad. And this is what I mean by cut the squad, guys. Alenya, Carlos Perez, Todibo, and Musawake all left on loan in January, and no one else came in. That's knowing Dembele was still injured. They banked on him coming back, but even then, you know, why would you get rid of Alenya? Why would you get rid of Todibo, who was our full centre back? They just wreaked havoc all over the pitch, guys, and you just think, what is going on? They left their squad without its manager, they left their squad without its depth, and we've seen that. We played the last game here against Alaves, and how many players do we have? 15 players available for the game, and 2 of them were on the bench were goalkeepers. You know, I don't know what's going on here, how they decided to plan for this, but seriously, what happened here? How was this allowed to happen? How did the people, the recruitment team, the likes of Eric Abidal, how did they keep their job after doing this? They completely cut up what was already a really challenging season for me. I wrote this down here. I thought, going into this season, Barca weren't in the best position. But like I say, they were surviving. At least we had depth. We kept Valverde. I thought it was the wrong decision, but hey, at least we kept him, you know, it's stability. Then we got rid of him in a random point. You know, what an odd time to get rid of Valverde there, but of all times, guys. And then they decided to go ahead and get rid of all the backup in the team as well. We've seen that throughout the whole season. You know, we're thinking, oh god, if he gets injured, look, we don't have anyone there. Well, this is why we don't have anyone there. We got rid of Perez, who was having a great season. He was the backup in attack. For a large part of the season, guys, we just had Messi, Griezmann and Ansu Fati as our only attackers. You know, for God's sake, we had to go and spend 20 million on Martin Braithwaite from Leganés outside of the transfer window because of planning like this. It's just extortionately bad. It's terrible planning. And look, what more can I say other than the board have really caused this? That's why I said at the start of the video I wanted to focus this on the board. They made these decisions, they've paid the price. And I'll also include something here just before we wrap up the video, just about Eric Abidal, who I think deserves a lot of blame for this season. I really do. He's got a massive role at the club to bring in players, to plan things, to decide who comes in and who goes out. That's a really important role at a football club. It really is, you know. That's essentially the career mode role. You know, when we play FIFA, guys, we decide what happens. That's, you know, it's not the same, of course, but that's similar to what Abidal does. You know, he decides essentially how the squad is going to look, the recruitment team, and it's a really important job in football. He even decides the managers, so he plays a massive role in getting people in and out of the club. So Abidal decided that we were heading in the wrong direction in January. I mean, you absolute clown, of all times, to come out and say that. What a weird time that was to say, and I just think, what was going on at Barcelona this season, and a few seasons, to be honest. Like I say, they didn't get rid of Valverde after Liverpool, they didn't get rid of Valverde after Valencia. Why would they get rid of him after a promising performance in the Super Cup, just in the middle of January? Abidal then comes out and says, look, I saw what was going on in the team, I saw there was something going wrong here. You saw something was going wrong here, and not in the Liverpool game. These are things that seriously need to be questioned and need to be brought up on, because he can't get away with it, and he got massive backlash from saying this. He said that people weren't training properly under Valverde. He made all sorts of statements to try and essentially back up the decision to get rid of Ernesto Valverde mid-season, and then of course that caused even more of a stir in the team. It caused even more chaos. You know, Lionel Messi himself came out and put on Instagram demanding a response from Eric Abidal and just saying, you know, if you're going to talk about this, name names, give me names as to who wasn't performing in training, and then we can talk. And I mean, what on earth, guys? Where else do you see this in world football? You know, the bust up between the players and the board, and just this whole season was complete chaos. It really, really was. And this here, what I speak about, is just one of the big bust ups of the season, and there have been plenty like that. So, yeah, I mean, I think what we've seen this season is no surprise. It really isn't. What more can you expect from a team completely dishevelled, completely cut up, chaos from right from the top of the club that stems right down to the bottom of it? And, you know, for me, there was no other solution other than to go this season essentially trophyless. So look, guys, I've tried to get all of that into one video, and honestly there was more. There's been more bust-ups. You know, half the board left mid-season because of a scandal that they were making false stories about the players, that half of the board. And you know, it's just, I'm only talking about really, you know, maybe a third or half of the stuff that's gone on. I just wanted to speak about really the squad planning. The lack of proper planning for the season was clearly horrific again. The money was poorly spent. The manager was kept, although he shouldn't have been. Then we cut him mid-season. Then we brought in a new manager. The squad was unsettled. It was then weakened in the transfer market of January. We didn't bring anyone in. We got rid of 4 players. What on earth happened? We were then left with, what, 13 players by the end of the season? Absolutely absurd. Chaos has ensued all season long at Barcelona, and this is what happened, guys. Look, we need a new board. That's essentially what I will say in this one. This is their doing. I'm all behind Victor Font in the upcoming elections, and I hope you guys are too, because what I've been in over this video is absolutely disgusting, and it's the sort of thing you would talk about for a Sunday League club and make jokes about. But, you know, chaos every single week, every single game. There's been no stability, and it's just like every time we open our phones after defeat, there's another drama, or there's this, there's that, there's this, there's that. And it's just, we need tranquility and calm at the club now in order to progress and move in the right direction, and the board just has to go. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. Hope you guys did indeed stay till the end, and I hope you guys also agree with me. So yeah, until then, I'm going to see you guys all later, and goodbye.